Here to react is Ben Domenech and Lisa Boothe. Both are Fox News contributors. Ben, what does this Maine race look like? Now, the Dems pick hard left. I actually think he's a Marxist, but what does it tell us about the state of their party?
Well, I think what it tells you about the state of the party, Laura, is that the people who used to be in charge of it really lost all of their credibility and their ability to an extent to determine outcomes with the disaster that was the Kamala Harris forced pick that we saw in 2024. Democrat elites used to control their party just with an iron fist. They could determine the outcome of elections, from the top. We saw that in 2020, by the way, when Bernie Sanders surged. They all came in and they made sure that Joe was the nominee. In Maine, in any other circumstance, you would have the Democratic elite making sure that someone who literally had an SS Totenkopf on his chest was not the nominee in one of the most critical Senate seats, one that they need in order to have any path toward the majority. And yet they were unable to do so. It tells you that the insane asylum is now in control, is now being controlled by all the people who were just in straitjackets a few months ago.
Now, Lisa, should Trump go to Maine? Maine is a funky state, as we know. It reminds me a lot of Minnesota and the way it votes and its history. But would Trump actually make a difference for Collins if he went up there to stump for her?
Well, I don't know. And they also have an interesting relationship. It's been a contentious relationship. So, he'd have to get over that. And I don't know if it necessarily helps her or not. Also, just want to point out that Graham Plattner's raised $12 million. And as you pointed out, Laura, he's outlasted the Democrat incumbent governor there, Janet Mills. But I want to point to the hypocrisy for a moment, Laura. If you remember that infamous 2017 Charlottesville rally and the very fine people hoax became a dividing line morally in American politics for a decade. That lie that they concocted about President Trump, saying that they were very fine people, despite the fact that he explicitly condemned the neo-Nazis there. Joe Biden launched his candidacy in 2020 off of that lie. He said it was a battle for the soul of the nation. And then now Democrats are solidly behind Graham Plattner, the nominee there, who has a Nazi symbol tattooed to his chest. So it's like they don't even believe in anything, Laura, anymore. They're only defined. Now, he says he didn't know that, to be fair. He didn't know what it meant. He didn't know what it, he says he didn't do it intentionally. But they have no problem standing behind this guy. So it just shows the outright lies and hypocrisy that this party believes in nothing.
I think that's a good point, Ben, because they try to be the thought police for everybody else. But the rules that they want to impose on us never apply to them. They always get the benefit of the doubt. And the old guard now, to your point, like Chris Van Hollen, they're defending Plattner. Check this out.
Plattner has clearly proven himself to be somebody who can, grab the attention of a lot of voters. A dude has not had a Nazi tattoo. I mean, let's be clear about what's going on here. I mean, how do you view that? I mean, it seems to be at least somewhat disqualifying. I mean, he's been very clear that he went into combat on behalf of the United States. He went through a really rough period.
So, Ben, a rough period. This is what they're.
Look,
I mean, this is unbelievable to watch. I've got to say, they're twisting themselves into pretzels.
It's absurd. The thing, they're absolutely twisting themselves into pretzels and knots. And here's the thing, they mock and continue to mock Elon Musk for waving funny. OK, and this guy, it's not just a tattoo on his body. It's all the different things that he's said online. This guy has a huge history. People should keep in mind the things that they were seeing up to this point. That was Democratic opposition research. That was Democrats trying to keep him from becoming their nominee because they're worried about what could happen in this race. Susan Collins is a very competitive runner. She's won Maine before in close races. And I think that what you're going to see is that Republicans are going to unearth even more about this guy that's going to be even more disturbing.
I think you're right. And I think Collins can legitimately say, I have been a check on Trump. She can actually say that to the Maine moderates and so forth. All right, Ben, Lisa, thank you both very much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.